In chapter 5, we talked about time value of money and the dollar and the value of a dollar today versus the value of the same dollar tomorrow. And now you know that is due to multiple things. Um, Basically, what's behind it is interest rates. If you watch my previous video, you've seen how interest rates are created, where they come from, but what's in the interest rate. So if we start with the basic interest rate, okay, it must be equal to some type of risk-free interest rate, first of all. So what is this? The risk-free is just that interest rate that people would charge each other if there was no risk at all. Okay, if there was no risk at all, if you could absolutely guarantee that you will get your money, we call that the risk-free. Uh, who offers the risk-free? Well, basically only the government. The United States government mainly can offer that type of risk-free. But there's more to it, right? Because remember, during the conversation around a time value of money, we talked about inflation. It's like, hey, wait a second. Yes, that's great. There's this concept, this idea of risk-free. That's perfectly fine. But even if you supply money to the government and they guarantee you the payback, you are still not well compensated because you're going to lose money. You're going to lose value because of inflation. So when you quote that interest rate, when you ask for compensation, you definitely want that risk free, but you also want to be compensated for inflation. So we're going to call that IP, inflation premium, right? That's what we call it, IP, inflation premium. You want to be compensated. But what else? Well, let's say that you are not supplying money to the government. Let's say that you're supplying money to another business, a friend, whatever. Well, that business or that friend may not be able to pay you back, right? Um, let's think, for example, of a bank uh, supplying money, lending money to two types of businesses. One is Apple, Apple, the big Apple corporation, and the other one is a little pizza place that just started selling pizza. Well, which one is more trustworthy? The one that just started and may or may not survive, or Apple, which has a huge revenue stream. It's a company that has been around for many years, high reputation. Well, clearly, you are uh, more likely to offer a lower rate to Apple, right? Because they're less risky. They're perceived to be less risky. So we call that the um, default risk premium. Okay. All right. What else? Well, then there's the fact that liquidity is how easily can I get my money back? Okay. This plays a bigger role in when we talk about foreign currencies. If you're dealing with a foreign currency, how easy it is for you to get your money back from that currency. If you are talking about stocks and bonds, how easy it is for you to sell that stock, sell that bond. Is it something that you can sell in a few minutes, hours, days, right? So something that is harder to convert into cash and more expensive is going to have a higher rate, right? Because it's something that is less desirable. You don't want it. So you're going to ask for a higher compensation. You need to be compensated somehow. So we call that the liquidity premium, right? That tells us that allows us to price different assets based on how easy it is to convert those assets back into cash. And then finally, uh, the concept of time, right? If you are going to borrow money from me and you're going to pay me back in the next hour or so, I'll probably charge you a very low interest rate. I mean, after all, you're just going to give me, you're going to give it back to me in a few minutes or hours. Um, that's not bad. But what if you want the money and you're going to pay me back in 30 years? Well, in 30 years, lots of things could happen. Basically, all the things that we talked about before are magnified, right? There could be more chances for inflation. There could be more chances for default, which is risk. So the longer the period of this loan, uh, the higher the uncertainty. So we're going to add to interest rates, we're going to add a maturity risk premium. This is the risk that we take when we lend money based on time. The longer the period, the higher the risk. That's basically it. That's what's in a quoted interest rate, in the interest rate that you see.